It's Sweet 16 and Elite 8 week in the NCAA women's basketball tournament, so naturally we had to bring in a heavy hitter to break everything down right here on Ball Up Top by No Cap Space. And what is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Andrew Hobner here with No Cap Space. Happy to be with you. Happy you are here with us. It's Ball Up Top. We have Tyler, and we also have straight from the Ringer WNBA show. Her name is Seerat. So Seerat, you have been breaking CBA news. You've been palling around with the Langham 4 at the cocktail table that Tyler and I can't even get into.
The virtual cocktail table.
Yeah, we're looking through the window. Brand now.
I'm happy to be back with my boys. You know,
yeah.
With the it's not the same. It's not the same. You know.
So how's it been? I mean, the CBA obviously captured everybody's attention in the last week, and it really feels like March Madness just recently wrestled it away with them ratifying the CBA kind of right as we're getting into the meat of the tournament. What has the last 3-4 weeks been for you in WNBA CBA world?
I feel like probably the same as it's been for you guys. Every day is a new adventure. You have, you have potential player discord. You have potential coordinated leaks. You have today. I'm like looking at the expansion draft details while you guys are prepping a pod. We're watching first round. We're watching second round. We're mainlining basketball. We're mainlining basketball news. We're like, oh my god. The players and the owners have ratified a CBA. I think when the agreement first came down, I was just so jubilant. I truly just had such an adrenaline rush, and I was so happy that it was done. That like my instant reaction was, we got a season. This deal's a win. Now that we have had some time to sort of reflect on things, and I think there's some more details trickling out. I have a few more questions. I think the first thing that really gave me pause was 7 years with a 6-year opt out. Ooh. I don't love that for a league that's growing exponentially and has a media deal that can be potentially reopened if both sides agree to it in 3 years. Like I was hearing that maybe we would see a 3-year opt out, but now I'm realizing that maybe that was a little bit of wishful thinking on the part of some people that were on the side of the players. So we'll kind of see how all of that shakes out. Like there's nothing wrong with getting long-term security, but I think we might hit year 4 or 5 this deal, and players might be like, wait,
yeah,
that's how much we're making.
It's gonna age. Yeah, it's gonna age poorly for sure. I wonder if that was like the trade-off of this. Like we'll give you the stuff that you want and have been wanting, like 20% gross rev, player housing, rookie deals, that like kind of fast track to supermaxes for rookies and young players. Like it feels like all of that was done in exchange for, it's going to age like crap, but like you got to give us something here to like hang on to for the next deal to come, you know?
Well, it's always like it's ultimately when you talk about negotiations, what's a good negotiation? Both sides are a little bit unhappy, right?
So true.
That's how it goes. Like we all want this to be a huge win for the players, but I think that the league side pulled some strings, and they made it look like I think that the players union was having some genuine communication issue. I think somebody who didn't have the best interest of the players at hand used that to publicly drive a bigger wedge than what was actually out there. And I think there's some lessons in there for the union, and kind of going forward. I know you've talked about this, but their PR. They're not the best, not the most robust PR, right? Like I think
need a comms team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Real bad.
I'll at Kathy. Fine. I'll do it.
At Terry. Terry and Tyler's massive communications machine. That's what I want for these players starting next cycle through. For you, when you're in the midst of like trying to gather information, I'm curious if you got any like weird texts, like any people that were suggesting things or leaking through where you were like, that seems just fugazi right off.
Oh, sure. Yeah. All the time. Right. Like there are so many different agendas and interests at play when you're talking about a CBA negotiation, and everybody isn't always who they seem to be and on the side of who they would who you would expect them to be on the side of, right? You also know that sometimes, like I think the best sort of communicators in these situations, or the most clever ones, are often using somebody else as a mouthpiece to get their point across as well. So, you're always sort of, Andrew, I know you love doing that. We talk about this stuff behind the scenes sometimes. I know you love doing that stuff, right? Like, I know you love sort of like figuring out who secretly like gains the most from potentially something being out there. And that's always interesting. I also think that like when there is blame to go around, I think people start turning on each other, which is always very interesting, right? Like people start throwing names at you. They're like, oh, interesting. You got to just put that stuff in your back pocket sometimes. It might not benefit you in the moment, but it kind of helps you figure out the angles, like the sort of larger ecosystem of the league, which unfortunately, like one of the things that I sort of, the only thing I really don't like about it is how much we can't talk about it, because I think it's the stuff that fans would be very interested in, and I would love to find a way to talk about a lot of it more. It's unfortunately, it's just straight up unethical to do. So we kind of can't. But I always I've tried to with my coverage. Like I'm not a big like sources tell me type of person. I don't think that's really my lane. What I try to do is put little Easter eggs in my coverage so that inquiring minds can put the pieces together for themselves.
That's actually really cool. Now I'm gonna have to go back to past Ringer WNBA shows and like find them here. Like I'm gonna have to go through to look for clues. That's a great little. I might steal that.
You do that too. Like I think everybody tries to do that when they can, right?
And try to be like sly. Because there's nothing worse, at least in my opinion, than somebody who goes like, I have information, like outright goes, I have information, but I can't share it with you. And you're like, okay,
and that's very frustrating as a fan,
right? When I know something, I'm just going to start putting flashing eye emojis on our videos, Andrew. I think that's what we'll do. It's like, just strobing eye emojis.
I think the NBA reporters have done a really good job at this. Like I think Brian Windhorst is a guy who's like, don't aggregate this. I'm not saying this is something that somebody told me. This is coming straight. Like that is the ultimate. Like okay,
sure, buddy.
You know what though?
I think that's a clever way to do it though.
Nobody does it better than Wendy in this respect.
Oh man, the Hoop Collective. That is honestly like, as far as being able to turn leverage your insider information into interesting takes for people while walking that line. Incredible pod.
Yeah, he does know his stuff, man. That is a man who was born for the stage, but consigned to sports writing. Like Wendy deserves to be in like the West End Theater in London.
Well, isn't what we're talking about really essentially us sitting there after like getting information, being like, why would Utah do that? Like, you spend a lot of time pondering.
My favorite meme that I've ever had made taken was someone did the frame by frame of Brian Windhorst on First Take going, why would Utah do this? What is happening? With all the finger machinations, and took Titi Ma Pregunto from Bad Bunny and put the names into every frame.
Oh, all the girlfriends?
Where he's like, Ma Patricia. It's every Windhorst frame.
Not the kindergarten girlfriend. What are we going back and forth?
Oh my God. It was incredible. Yes, man. That's Wendy, awesome. Just serving the masses with content. Speaking of additional content, it is March Madness after all. Tyler, please run the bracket up on the screen for me, if you would, as we Euro step through these lanes and transition like any of the current number one seeds, and evidently LSU, because they are just like the best offense we've maybe ever seen in women's college basketball right now. All right, Tyler.
Yes.
Given that you are boots on the ground in Fort Worth for us on No Cap Space this week, where are we going first in the preview here? Take me to your favorite game.
My favorite game in Fort Worth is very, very easy, and it's Notre Dame versus Vanderbilt. Sign me up. I mean, I had eyed this one. I was very close to like picking Notre Dame over Ohio State in my bracket. I don't think I eventually did, but like I've been willing this one to happen. I mean, it doesn't get more box office than Hannah Hidalgo versus Michaela Blakes. And I don't know exactly how much we'll see, like the other guarding the other, or how that's going to work. Like, I'll be interested, honestly, in seeing if they deploy Hidalgo on Galvin at times, and to see like what that strategy ends up potentially being. But I don't care. Even if it's just them going bucket for bucket, I don't care. And also, knowing what comes next more than likely, right? Knowing that more than likely the winner of this game gets UConn. So you're telling me, well, hold on, let's be nice. So here's the thing. Obviously, it's Notre Dame UConn. If you get that, you know what that is. And the idea of Hannah Hidalgo being able to power this Notre Dame team of all Notre Dame teams into the Elite Eight would be electric. And no matter what happens in that UConn game, obviously they have to be North Carolina. I'll put the caveat there just in case hell freezes. But be able to put that on her March resume would be incredible. But if it's Vandy, you have all the connections. Obviously, Shea Ralph with UConn, but then we get Sarah Strong versus Michaela Blakes in the National Player of the Year game. This game, I don't lose in this game. I only win. And as someone that gets to be there, I mean, I bought a ticket to cinema and I didn't even know what movie was playing yet, and I got the best one. I got a feature film. And this is going to be an award winner. I mean, I thought that Hannah versus Jelani was electric, and it was. Like, that was an all-time duel. This one could immediately one-up it with the talent of these two players.
100%. 100%. I have been exploring, I talked about this in the last podcast. We'll go deeper on it this coming podcast. The historical triangle of influence and intersection between Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, and UConn.
Mm-hmm.
You have so many different storylines intersecting from, decades ago, right? Like, you have Niele Ivey versus Shea Ralph. Now, that 2001 season, Notre Dame versus UConn, it was fine. It was the first season that Notre Dame actually beat UConn. They beat them in the regular season. Niele Ivey had like a double-double, and then they meet again March 6th in the Big East tournament. There's actually a book written about this game called, I think it's like considered one of the greatest college games ever played. Sue Bird hit a game winner. Shea Ralph is on the other side of this game. Starts 4 for 5, misses a shot in the second quarter, goes up for a rebound, lands awkwardly, tears her ACL. She's had multiple ACL tears at this point. I think this was her 5th ACL tear. It ends up being the last game she ever plays.
Wow.
She gets drafted to the WNBA, but I don't think she ever really fully was able to recover, then ends up becoming a coach. And I think it's just such a huge what if for this particular moment where she ends up becoming a coach, goes to Vanderbilt, ends up terrorizing Tennessee. It's like Geno spawned somebody to Tennessee, the state of Tennessee, to take care of that rivalry. Now she's potentially taking on Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Michaela Blakes has replaced Janiyah Barker as the Raising Cane's a sponsor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in like the cardboard
cutout.
Tennessee. Like,
yeah.
It is it. Like,
wow.
And if Vandy potentially gets here, if Vandy, not only they have beat Tennessee every single time since Michaela Blakes got there. In fact, part of the reason that she committed is she was watching Vanderbilt lose to Tennessee, and she was like, you know what, I can turn this around. Like, we can win that game. And now if she does that and then goes on and beats UConn, it's insult to injury for this. Like, they're just like Lady Vols fans are just catching stray after stray in this matchup, but then also probably being like, you know what, took Geno down. Like, like,
Yep.
Like, I don't know. Like, I've won, but at what cost?
Quite literally.
Yeah,
this is
so much.
The I've won, but at what cost? I feel like can also apply to Muffet McGraw too here, because it's like in 2019 she's in Tampa being like, we need effectively less male coaches. We need more female coaches. Like, on ew men. Like, that was basically the entirety of the press conference. And now she gets to see a former UConn star in Shea Ralph that might end up becoming like the next power program that can also be in Notre Dame's way. And it's like, be careful what you wish for a little bit, because what's amazing about this matchup too is stylistically, I think it's going to favor fireworks from these guards. Like, just as Notre Dame, Ohio State was kind of what we thought it would be, which is decided by the guards and the bigs are relatively negligible. I think the same is kind of going to happen here from a production standpoint. You're going to get good performances out of Cassandra Prosper and you're going to get good performances out of Sacha Washington, but make no mistake, the stars in this game and the engines of these teams are in the backcourt, And I think to your point, Tyler, that's what gives us the heavyweight matchup piece of this is it doesn't feel like either team can necessarily muck it up with a good front court player if they want to here. The floor is kind of clear for these two just to hoop.
Yeah, there's really no other option. And that's going to be incredible. I mean, I expect Vanderbilt to win this game. That is certainly where I'm leaning with it. And I think that there's just more all around talent right now, but I don't know if we've given Notre Dame fully enough credit for the way that they ended their season. Obviously went out a little bit earlier than they probably would have liked to in the ACC tournament after a close loss to Duke, but they ended on a pretty decent streak. And clearly we might not have been given the ACC in general enough respect in terms of the results so far. Notre Dame's kind of rolling in a lot of ways right now. And I'm picking Vanderbilt. I expect Vanderbilt to win, but if you tell me Notre Dame is led by Hannah Hidalgo, because again, I've made this point on my live. I made this point preseason in a National Player of the Year video, kind of making the potential case for Hidalgo. There's no other player I would want to play with house money with than Hannah Hidalgo on my team. She's the one that can lead anybody into any battle and come out victorious. She's the type of player that can do that. And so I'm certainly far from counting Notre Dame out in this one, even though I have Vandy on my bracket going through.
I think Vandy's a smart pick. I think that they just have a lot more help around their best player. You're talking about two electric guards. I think there's a pathway for Notre Dame though, right? I think 100%. And it starts and ends with Hannah, really. I think if Hannah shuts down Aubrey Galvin and then forces Michaela Blakes to do everything on the guard front and the creation front, then cross your fingers and hope Justine Piso has a bad shooting night.
Yep.
And you can potentially, for Hannah, really work to get the bigs into foul trouble, because once Sacha Washington, if she gets into foul trouble, Vandy's front court depth gets pretty thin. Yeah. And that's when I think, if you get a good Cass Prosper game, I think KK Bransford could be an X factor as well. The front court matchup, I think Notre Dame actually, even though Vandy's a better team, I think Notre Dame definitely has a shot of winning that front court matchup. And then if you just have Hannah lock down Aubrey Galvin and steal a couple possessions like she always does, I think there's definitely a shot.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. De Jesus, do you have a miracle for us today? That is
you know what?
I'm interested.
Sweet 16 performer, though. I mean, we run it back.
I'm intrigued.
It was pretty incredible for Duke last year. Also, how funny would it be if this is the team that gets Niele Ivey past the Sweet 16?
After all the stuff that's been talked about it, all the stuff talked about Niele this season, and this becomes the team. Oh, incredible! And don't let TCU go out early too, because if that was to go in that way, it would be diabolical.
I think I would start a conversation about the season.
I'm sure you would be one of plenty.
I would be starting a conversation about the season that Olivia Miles has had. Yeah.
I am interested because TCU, skin of their teeth, holds off a really plucky Washington team in the second round there, and they end up seeing Virginia. We'll get to that one in a minute because, Tyler, I want you to scroll up. I want you to give me the 1 minute pitch for why you can't lose if South Carolina and Oklahoma play one another. And then, Seerat, when he's done with that pitch, I want you to tell me just how much cope you really think this is before we even tip a ball.
Oh, copium. Okay. Hit me, Tyler. Give me your best shot.
Listen, I'll tell you exactly why I can't lose, because I've already won. I'm in a position that I never expected to be in, and that is Oklahoma beating South Carolina. And to do so in the city of Norman, and to do so with Aaliyah Chavez putting on the performance that she did in that game, I'm playing with money I never expected to even be in my account. This is more than house money that we're talking about here. This is something that I never expected to be at. So with that, because I've had plenty of fams in my mentions over the past months now, here's the thing. I can't be hurt because I already hurt you with this win. It's already happened. I'm not supposed to be here. So I know what comes next. It's
wow,
South Carolina
LeBron James, just a kid from Norman.
Come on, the city of Norman. It's just me, Chavez, and a Chili's over here, and we won. So here's the thing. I already won. I cannot lose. I'm not supposed to be here. You guys are. You guys are supposed to be here, and I understand what comes next. It's South Carolina in March, and it's revenge game South Carolina. I'm terrified, but I can't lose because I can't be hurt because I never expected to get this far in the first place.
I think I don't even need to respond. I think this is just perfectly set up for like a several moments later for, you know, whatever podcast you guys do after the game.
What happens if they win?
I'll tell you what happens if they win. I'm going live. I'm going live. I can be courtside next to Gino. I'm going live. I'll pretend like I always believed. I'm not going to pretend that I said any of this. I knew it all along.
Let me see, Tyler. Let me see your bracket.
My bracket? Oh God.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me see. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. In my bracket, I picked South Carolina. So again, I also can just be right. That also helps.
So you're hedging.
No.
Like you either win your bracket with a broken heart, or you lose your bracket and you're jumping off the walls.
Yes, pretty much. I mean, again, I'm not going to be in Sacramento, so like I'm a little hurt by, honestly, now that we're here, because that would have been funny regardless, you know. But like it is what it is. I don't feel like I can lose here. I just don't, because I can't be hurt. I'm still trying to find my bracket. I don't know why.
I don't know. I feel like Sirius Belt can probably still hurt a little bit here. Like at what point, because you know that this is South Carolina that just hung 100 and beat USC by 40.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can a 40 spot like that? Nothing.
No, not a thing. Because again, I can't believe
Bro.
South Carolina fans care so much about this game. I've never had people care about Oklahoma like this ever before in my life. So I've already won. I've never had people talk to me about Oklahoma women's basketball like this before. So just on that basis alone, Aaliyah Chavez has already won. I will say though, and I might be setting up the pack here. Notably, when Aaliyah Chavez first arrived on campus, there's this always, every time the freshman class comes into OU, they all pack it to the football stadium and like they have speakers come. And Aaliyah Chavez was a speaker at this event and trying to like hype up the fans, you know, all the freshman students that came in. And she specifically said, this year we make the Elite Eight. We are one step ahead of where it was last year. Again, this is not a program that does this. This is the first time OU's gone back-to-back in the Sweet 16 since 2000, 2001. I wasn't born yet. So, like, this doesn't really happen. This doesn't really happen for us here. But the bar has been set now to try and do this.
I actually believe him.
Man,
See?
I kind of do too.
See? I mean every word I say. Now, again, if the miracle happens, this all never happened. I'm Men in Blacking and I'm celebrating. But like, I live in a reality. And this is what it is. And I know what's coming next.
Yeah. This South Carolina team just looks locked in a different way. And frankly, honestly, all the one seeds do. I mean, it's very clear, I think, what this season is borne out, that there were 4 title teams and then a pretty big chasm between them and everybody else. I mean, Vanderbilt feels close. Where are we on LSU, Seerat? Because we have the LSU Duke rematch here first, and LSU has run over 2 different teams here in the NCAA tournament. This is the most potent offense that the college game has really ever seen. And then you have Duke, who they can muck it up and stop you, but they have an offensive component this year that they just haven't in the past, especially in last season's Elite Eight run. So is this a scenario of LSU is just running too hot, or is this a scenario of what past, games this season of LSU have shown us, which is LSU can run you over until they find somebody that stops them, and then it suddenly gets a lot harder really fast.
Yeah, I think that I kind of agree with you. I think that there's so much narrative weight coming into this game because of Flage and Kara And the games that Duke played against LSU and her just like, her hitting those threes, flexing, and Kara, the whole America stuff. I think that what?
I just love it. Like, I'm just geeked. Yeah. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, it's fun. I do think as much as Duke kind of turned their season around after that game, I think it's going to be more of the same on the court, because I think it's like a styles make fights sort of situation, but I just don't think that Duke really has the players to keep up with LSU. Like, and it kind of bears itself out because I think for both teams, right? Like, one is more an offensive team, one is more of a defensive team. I trust LSU to defend more than I trust Duke to put together offense, especially if Kara is going to stick with two bigs, which I feel like she mostly does, unless like even look at the ACC title game. They turned it on in overtime because Toby Fournier got fouled out, and then all of a sudden it's a lot easier for Ashlyn Jackson to find passers. It's a lot easier for Donovan Thomas or Delaney Thomas to like get to the rim and things like that, right? I think LSU is going to clog that right up, and unless Duke really switches their style at some point in this game, I just don't really see how they win. Like, at LSU, they've been held under 70 twice this season, and they've lost both of those games. Duke, they're 0-4 when teams score more than 80 points on them, including LSU, who actually they scored the season high 93 points on them. No one's put more points on Duke than LSU has this season. And I think it's just really hard to turn the faucet off against them. I don't like as great as Duke is defensively. I don't really think they're equipped to guard LSU, especially when you have I just think the way that Michaela Williams is playing right now, like you had Flage like really turn it on in the second round, and I think that. Yeah, I think that, like talk of her sort of inconsistency is a little bit overblown. I think that she's just been more cerebral this year as she prepares for the draft. She's integrating Malaysia Wiley, and I think that like kind of letting Michaela Williams be great as well. And I think that if and when she needs to, Flage Johnson will be able to be Flage Johnson. Like, I feel pretty good about this Duke team against LSU. Once we get to UCLA, I think it's probably a bit of a different story. I think UCLA is just so stacked, and they have the rebounding. And like, if you even look at last year, like, that was a worse UCLA team that was pretty much able to do what they wanted against LSU, despite Lauren Betts being in foul trouble last year. And I think that UCLA is just, if we do want to look ahead a little bit, LSU is probably like an Elite 8 out.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. LSU, I will say, and you kind of alluded to it at the top, but like, I don't know if anyone's outside of the 1 seeds, especially. Not many teams have an argument to be in better form based on their first 2 rounds than what LSU is playing in right now. And I wasn't fully confident that we were going to get that, like into the degree that we did in terms of just the return to form in that what they had. Now I'm like, okay, yeah, I think I'm pretty confident in LSU in this game, because when they're playing like that, there's not many teams that can keep up with it, whether it's doing a good enough job defensively, which Duke has a chance to do, or to your point, being able to keep up with it offensively, which they have no chance of doing if the LSU offense is rolling in the way that we have seen it multiple times over the course of this season. And I don't know. Maybe I'm messy. I mean, I am messy, but maybe I'm thinking about this in a messy way. I just don't think Flage is going out against Kara. I just don't think that's happening. One way or another, I don't think it's going to happen like that. And I think Flage cares way more about this than Kara Lawson does. And I think that's advantage LSU. Like, I mean that like in the most positive way.
I don't think Kara has any negative thoughts about Flage.
I don't think so honestly.
Either. Well,
not to any large degree.
I don't know if Kara Lawson herself does. I think Duke as a team probably doesn't fuck with her.
Oh, actually,
she stomped all over them.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I mean. Like,
I
think the framing of it, and like, look, at the end of the day, bills got to be paid. You want these women to get paid? Like, we gotta hit that clickbait a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, if we want to frame it, if we want to position it as Flage Kara.
I don't bring that stuff up enough. Honestly, I think players care about all that stuff to a degree that is, more than what an average person like you and I could even think of.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, because you're a competitor.
Yeah,
you have to like use something as fuel, and I do think that to that point, I think the Duke players took a little bit of umbrage to how some of that played out at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's going to be something to play for on that end. But I'm kind of with you, Tyler. Like, it's hard to not look at her doing the victory lap in the PMAC after that win over Texas Tech and not be like, she's got one more.
I'm kind of moved.
Yeah.
I'm kind of moved. Like,
yeah, like I kind of was like, you know what though? This is why LSU is just like the content factory program of women's college basketball right now, because from Angel to Flage and like the overarching Kim Mulkey of it all, they know how to make a good ass story, brother. They really do. Like,
for a reason.
they, it's just, look, people can hate that concept. They can dislike, doing the lap around the floor at the end as if this is like a national championship matchup. I love it because that's at this point in the sports age and life cycle, women's basketball. I mean, I think this is kind of the peak time to create mythologies around some of these players because they are golden generation players. All of them are. And so in order to do some of the mythology we built around like players of the 80s and 90s in the NBA, I think this is the period of time where we're not only watching some of these mythologies get built in real time, like we're going to with Notre Dame Vanderbilt, but we also need the players and the coaches to do things and act certain ways that cements the mythology into our head because we remember moments more than anything, right? And so Flage having that moment is like, okay, now if you go to the Elite Eight, yeah, you might get pasted by UCLA when you meet later on, but we'll remember this LSU team and like some of the mythology around this LSU team because of that or because of a win like this. So I'm stoked for this one. And just from a narrative standpoint, like the writer in me loves this one out of all of them.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
I'm ready for it.
I'm feeling
it. In a conference and a college sports environment that is incredibly campy and drag coded. I don't think that there is a team that's campier than LSU or a coach that's more drag coded than Kim Mulkey. And I think she's such an interesting the way that she recruits and behaves is such an interesting sort of metric of where women's hoops is culturally and politically, like I think this is, I think that she's somebody that, we kind of collectively side eye a little bit because of what we perceive to be her political beliefs. Right. And to me, I don't think Kim Mulkey really has political beliefs. I think that there was a time that she was a coach at Baylor, a Christian university, and she's a company woman. She protects the shield. She
certainly protects the shield.
So over there, Brittany Griner, Melissa Smith, you keep it quiet. Now we're in this NIL transfer portal era and this school like LSU that completely embraces all of that. And that recruits are going to be drawn to you as like, how much do you think it helps Kim Mulkey every time Flage gets on a podcast and she's like, yeah, no, Kim's, as long as I do my job, Kim is fine with me, doing my music.
I know for a fact that it helps actually.
There you go. Yeah. Look at you with your that's
my eye emoji. Put the eye emoji on the screen.
That's the Easter egg. Easter egg.
Exactly. That's how you tease it. Yeah, they're an interesting. I think that I love that you've been calling it the golden age. I've heard you call it the golden age of college hoops, and I'm going to steal that from my at some point as well because I think you nailed it on the head. But I just don't think that you're going to be able to tell the story of the golden age of college hoops without focusing a lot of attention on LSU.
Yeah. Kim Mulkey to me is like the Waffle House index for women's college basketball. So Seerat, this is a slice of deep Americana that to me is one of my favorite little pieces of information that I love sharing with people who don't know it. So I can't wait. So FEMA, which does disaster management in the United States, has a metric called the Waffle House Index. And basically, it is an index of how bad a storm is slated to be or its aftermath based on whether or not a Waffle House in the area is open. So if like a Waffle House is doing full breakfast, full everything, you're like in the green zone. if like a Waffle House can't do certain foods or drinks, it's in a yellow or an orange. If the Waffle House is out of power, it's like a red, right?
Yeah.
And so Kim Mulkey is to me the Waffle House index, because it's like when we're in like the peak of coaches and institutions run the show, she's got her hair in the updo. You know, she's defending Art Briles. She's doing all sorts of reprehensible shit in Waco.
Protecting the shield.
And then we enter like the player empowerment era and the NIL and portal era. And to your point, like she's not taking the kids to Angola anymore. Like she's letting them, you know, she's letting them do, you know, the record deals and stuff. She's popping out with the fur. And she's walking Lane Kiffin out like it was a dog with a collar around his neck. Oh my God, dude. It was like the divorced woman and her new man. I mean, it was incredible. But like, I think that she is not like a disaster index, but she's like a where is the game at index. You can tell by where Kim Mulkey is and what she's doing. All right, we're doing a mutual steal. I'm taking that from you. You get Golden Age of Women's college hoops from me.
Beautiful.
So,
wait, can I ask one more question?
Yes,
please do.
Why Waffle House?
No, okay. Whoa. Okay.
Tyler?
Waffle House. I'm telling you right now, like I've only ever seen the Waffle House closed one time in my entire life. It's 24/7.
Okay.
And there was like an F5 tornado that went through. That was the only time I've ever seen the Waffle House.
So they stay open. They are
open no matter what the time is. There is always they might not be staffed. They might be taking a smoke break outside, but the actual doors itself of the Waffle House are always open. You might just have to like wait.
You might have to make the waffle yourself. Yeah,
yes, or 100%. Like you I'm not saying you're getting the best service, but I'm saying it is the best experience, and it's an experience that is always open. And if it's closed, either there is a mass disaster and or a zombie apocalypse. Like that is what you're working with here. I mean, the Waffle House is a true institution of American culinary food.
It's really just that, they stay open. And because they are so militant about 24/7 365 that when they shut down it means something extreme had to have happened. So yes,
the Canadian version of this, and I know you guys have this restaurant, it just operates very differently in Canada. The Canadian version of this is actually Denny's. Denny's is your 24-hour always available, like similar sort of thing, breakfast food, not always going to be the best. The times that you go, like you can get some very, very interesting characters in there. Sometimes you are the actual interesting character.
Sure.
Oh, dude.
Been there. Yeah.
In the night and the time of the night or the time of the morning, in the early wee hours. So I get the vibe. I need to hit up a Waffle House.
Yes, you absolutely do.
You should. It's Denny's. Yeah. Some Denny's hit a 24 or 24/7. Others are an early/late. In Oregon, here's a crazy one for you. In Oregon, there was a Denny's that had a bar attached to it.
Oh yeah.
Easy.
That's a thing?
It was like 4 Denny's up I-5 in Oregon. They couldn't.
They could never do that with the Waffle House.
No chance. No, bro. Those fights would be on tilt, or they'd be just even more uncoordinated. Yeah. But at a Denny's, like, you could theoretically go into this little bar space in the Denny's that was open until like 2 or 3 in the morning. So when we were in Eugene working in local TV, we'd get off our Saturday night shows for college football at like 11:30 at night, 12 o'clock. Most stuff is shut down. We're not going to the college bars because we're adults. And so there was this Denny's that had like a little adjoined bar that was open late. And you could get like a Blue Moon and a Grand Slam at like 1 in the morning. It was fire.
There's a couple of those in Alberta.
Yeah, what? Dude. It's actually a great concept, Tyler. If
that's incredible, but that's how I know Denny's is weak.
Get your hair of the dog before you even go to bed.
Yep. It's phenomenal. Speaking of teams that are seemingly on 24/7 and 365, your UConn Huskies are the number 1 seed in this tournament. And Tyler, is North Carolina headed for belt, or is North Carolina going to show us something? Because I'll be honest, I don't know, man.
It's okay.
Nope.
No.
No,
20-point
No.
I love Alina Arnisalo. I think that it has been an incredible time in basketball for white girls and white boys with motion who play with emotion. And that's about all I have to say about this matchup. We can I mean, Silas Swords had a moment. Austin Reeves is having a moment. Luke Kennard is having a moment. There's a renaissance happening here. That's the true Kate Clark effect. I'm hijacking this. I'm sorry. I don't like.
No, please. No, this is fantastic.
Like I just like don't think that we should talk about UConn, North Carolina. Personally.
I mean, look, shout out to I'm surprised that they were. I had Maryland being here, so I guess shout out to them for proving me wrong. The real demon's on the way next year, and that's Kate Harpering. And when she gets there, I will be very, very excited to talk about North Carolina. Until then, thoughts and prayers.
Yeah. I will say they had a nice turnaround towards the end of the season.
Yes, it's the super young roster. I mean, this was supposed to be the bridge year, like the full, like honestly, anything could have happened this year with North Carolina. I would be like, oh, okay, if they just were bad, and they weren't, and that is an accomplishment in its own right. And again, the real demon is on the way in Kate Harpering, who we have an interview with here on No Cap Space. So if you need to go and familiarize yourself with Kate Harpering, you can find it here on the YouTube. This little.
She's going to be on the White Girls with Motion Power.
100%.
Oh my God,
100%. At UNC,
that's an overtime demon if I've ever seen one.
100%. So, I can't wait.
Are we applying the same standard to UCLA, Minnesota here?
I think we've seen the matchup, right? Like it's a bit of a rerun. I think Minnesota is a little bit more interesting to talk about simply because it gives us an avenue to talk about Cody McMahon, and I think
yeah.
Where did you fall on this?
Well, I think I think that Cody is a very interesting player. I've always enjoyed watching her play. I think that her in the WNBA is going to be an interesting metric for how modern the game has become, because we've seen players like her sort of type, like the power guard.
Yeah, it's a weird
positionally undefined, slightly undersized to be a big, but like can barrel you over like a freight train. She's, I think, a very interesting human being. I watched her interview with Lisa Leslie, where she talked about a number of things. But I mean, the thing that really stuck with me is that she believes that LeBron James is the one and true great, and she grew up kind of trying to model her game after his, and that makes perfect sense when you watch her, because you get that sort of like freight train, no regard for human life feeling when you watch her. Obviously, because of what we know about women's basketball and the way that the discourse is around it, Cody is somebody that is going to be talked about in ways that make people like us uncomfortable, And I think we've seen this with South Carolina. We've obviously seen it with like Angel Reese and LSU. And I think the thing that like for like the hoop heads like us, like I want us to ground our rebuttals to that in the fact that it takes a lot of skill to do what she does.
Yeah.
The reality is Amaya Battle flopped on that last play because she had no other choice. Because she had a full game of guarding her. And I think Amaya Battle did a fantastic job on defense in every other capacity. But that was where it was like, I can't do anything about it.
And admitted to it.
I have to fall. And I think that's fine. I think what Cody said was great in terms of it's all about strategy. I think it's been very interesting to see what it looks like when she gets to the next level, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're seeing pushback against physical play in the WNBA. I think especially on guards, it is definitely long overdue. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have that or anything like that. But at the same time, like my prediction has always kind of been like, once this kicks in, like I do wonder what happens with a player like Alyssa Thomas. And it makes me wonder what happens with Cody. But at the same time, we are seeing more of like these 5-out schemes. I think she could look really interesting on a team like the Sparks with Cameron Brink at the 5 and potentially like kind of, and they don't have a pick this year, but maybe they could like trade into it. I think the Liberty is another team that she could be really interesting on if JJ comes back and they kind of have a 5-out scheme. Chris DeMarco is there. He comes from an NBA background. He kind of knows what it's like to like activate these sort of like Gary Payton type of players, which is like, oh, you just seem like an undersized point guard. You don't have a role in this league anymore. And all of a sudden, they're like small ball 4s. And they already did that with Natasha Cloud last year. So I think Cody could be a very, very interesting player in the W. And I can't wait to see how it all goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my thing on Cody is that it sucks that we have to really tread a line carefully on how we talk about like programs and players both in particular, right? Because there is, I think, an element of understandability to how the end of that game played out, right? It is, I think, to your point, a fairly objective statement to say Cody McMahon plays physical basketball.
Yeah.
The issue is that there's all sorts of other charged components that come in where it becomes really hard to trust that the critique is just about that or the commentary is just about that.
Yeah.
But in this case with Battle, like, she flapped. It was just, that's what unfortunately, like it or not, like that's what basketball kind of is these days and can be. Now I think from a next level standpoint, like I think Cody's going to be a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. To me, we did not. And I think this is what I mean is like, I think some of the places that the dialogue gets taken obfuscates the fact sometimes that these players are kind of really good heels and put in a great performance with stuff. Like, bro, Cody losing to Minnesota and getting booed off the floor or cheered off the floor, you know, waving goodbye, whatever.
And that's fine. Like,
here's the thing. I think a lot of people didn't realize that like Minnesota fans have history with her dating back to Ohio State. Yeah. Like, mm-hmm. I think, you know, I'm sure there's some people that, you know, just don't like her affect, but I think people watching at home that were like, why is Minnesota so charged up about this kid playing for Ole Miss? It's like, there's 4 years of history pre-transfer that exists in there, at least a couple. But in true heel fashion, when Ohio State loses to Notre Dame, Cody McMahon gets on the bird and throws the laughing emoji. And
was that about Ohio State or about Iowa?
I thought it was Iowa.
I think it was Iowa. Regardless, fantastic work. I think it was Iowa, if I remember right, the timing of it.
You are correct. It is proper ethical hate, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
And like that, I think is the thing that is a bummer about some of the dialogue that came out of first Gonzaga Ole Miss and then Ole Miss Minnesota is like, we got to be able to appreciate Cody the performance, you know, like Cody the villain. It's awesome.
I don't think, unless I missed it, I don't think I saw really much out of Minnesota that like made me feel uncomfortable. I think it was really just Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm. It was Gonzaga, I think. Well, I think it was more people saying that it was a second order knock-on effect from Gonzaga. Cody's officiating was a result of Fortier saying what she said in the game prior. That was like really the continuation.
I just don't think Minnesota fans or players or like coaches or anything really did anything out of step.
No, not at all. I think that was more. I think Yo has a point about like the officiating probably was a little tighter as a result. I mean, people are.
I think the officiating for a lot of these games has been really tight. Actually, like I think a lot of these SEC teams have actually kind of like had to adjust to that.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Seerat, since you're in WNBA land here. Lauren Betts, after the performance she just had in the second round, if she gives you another efficient performance against this Minnesota team, like at what point do we start getting moved about Lauren Betts as a next level prospect, or are people's opinions more or less just calcified about this kid?
I mean, I think we should already be moved. I think we just have to have an appropriate understanding of who Lauren Betts is. I think Lauren Betts is a can't miss generational defender who is going to change the geometry of the floor every single time she's on the court. I think she's a perfect antidote to the modern game. She can switch out onto shooters. She has incredible size. She is a great rim protector. I think that she is. I think the biggest thing this season is her expanding her outside range. That will give her the opportunity to play the four a little bit more. I mean, we just talk. It's all about. I mean, look, basketball is all about finding synergies with your teammates, right? Now, hypothetically, since we're just talking about Cody, if Lauren Betts is playing alongside somebody like Cody McMahon, then all of a sudden I don't have any problems with the fact that there are going to be some bigs in the WNBA that can push out Lauren Betts or make her uncomfortable with their physicality. Like that's true. If we gush over Cameron Brink, she still can't figure out how to not foul in the WNBA, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think that they're too dissimilar as prospects in terms of like the things that people get excited about. Now, does Lauren Betts have weaknesses? Of course she does. Are there certain teams that she's going to struggle with? Of course. That is true of every single great young player in the WNBA. That is the virtue of being young. Caitlin Clark is a generational prospect. She got her ass kicked on defense in her first year. Like, Aaliyah Boston is a generational player. You're talking about number 1 picks here. She had to really get in shape differently to actually be able to thrive in this new Indiana Fever. Like, everybody, like, this is, I think sometimes the way that we talk about players, it's like, oh, like if Lauren Betts travels, I think it's like, that's one of those things where it's easy for somebody to put out a tweet and be like, how is like a senior who's supposed to be a lottery pick, like traveling under like against like Big Ten opponents? And it's like, in reality, I don't think that part of her game is like necessarily her strength, but I think it's something glaring that stands out about her. So we kind of over-index on the flaws, and I think we under-index on the things that make her really special. Now, I think when you put it in the context of this particular draft, it also becomes about fit. Now, you have Dallas. They have potentially, like, I really think it's a choice between AZ and Awa at this point. And you're trying to decide between two team building philosophies. Like, do you want to pair together like 2 generational guards and like kind of be on the vanguard of modernizing the WNBA, or do you want to take Awa, who is just seems like a can't miss prospect, and you would have a little bit more of a traditional roster, but like she looks, I mean, this is a big exaggeration, but if she hits her absolute ceiling, she looks a lot like Asia Wilson. So do you want to build around like the traditional, you have the point guard and you have the big. Those are 2 great options, and I wouldn't be mad if Dallas went with either of them. Now, Minnesota, I think, could be an interesting home for Lauren Betts at the number 2 pick. But it also kind of depends, like, do they prefer Awa? If AZ's on the board, is it like, are they ready to kind of like have that Kayla McBride understudy? I also think I'm very curious in general just to see what Minnesota looks like after.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
And then that was one. I just did one of those.
Okay. Oh,
And
you're
eye emoji.
Damn, these Easter eggs are deep,
Dude,
like, this is like watching The Good Shepherd. Great film.
But I think after you get past the 2, like then I think it's just start running into the issue of Seattle. I think it's just definitely taking Olivia Miles, and then you have a whole bunch of teams that have bigs.
Yeah,
we've seen what she looks like. Like she played behind Kiki Iriafen. I don't know if she wants to do that again in Washington, right? Like I could see her dropping in this draft surely by virtue of that, and maybe not necessarily having to do with like the type of season she's had. Like ironically to me, I think Olivia Miles is probably going to be the number 3 pick no matter what. I am far less impressed with like I probably like Olivia Miles more as a player. I'm far less impressed with the progress that she has made this season, extra season at TCU, than I am with Lauren Betts, who I think has like really looked in the mirror and expanded a lot of parts of her game.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I was gonna say, I think Betts, to me, it's interesting that in this tournament she's not really gonna see a real dominant centerpiece traditional 5 until probably the other side of the bracket here potentially.
Yeah,
because if you go all the way to the bottom, you're looking at Texas and Kentucky. Unless you get Kentucky or Louisville, well, even Louisville, because McKenna Randolph is like 6'1". It's not the same.
I want to see Kentucky because I want as much as like it's probably gonna be Texas. I want Clara Strack to have to cash the check that Kenny Brooks wrote for her.
Dude,
that would be
because he said that. Yeah, he said that, never thinking that it would ever matter. And I like Kenny Brooks. I do not respect that.
That was wild stuff from him. That was wild stuff.
I'd be so pissed if I was Strack. I'd be so pissed.
Like,
I'd be like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Are you kidding me, dog?
Yeah.
Like,
do we think Kentucky? I mean,
no.
You don't think so?
No, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be close.
I think out of any of the number 1 seeds, this is the one that can be the closest. I still have Texas. No, like I still think Texas will win, but I certainly think that out of any of the 1 seeds, this is the scariest matchup.
Yeah, I just it's fucking rolling, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I still think Texas is going to win, but I still think just purely based on when you look across the NCAA this season, I've found it so interesting. Kentucky is a very rare thing in that they have two bigs that they played through. Not a lot of teams have that, and they have it in a incredibly unique way with the size of Strack and Key, and Texas has been able to overcome that when it comes to having going against bigs of different sizes and bigs that are taller than their bigs. But I'm interested in what this looks like if you get just the 2-man game rolling with those two. Yeah. I worry to a degree if like the rebounding is there from Kentucky. If Madison Booker, frankly, if Madison Booker keeps playing the way that she's playing, it doesn't matter. Like point blank period. Yeah. But if you get the Texas lull and they have to hit threes, what does that look like? I fully expect Texas to win this game, but I do think it's probably the most interesting out of any of the 1-seed games that we'll see.
They do have the defensive pieces to be able to guard Texas for sure. And I think they can put a lot of pressure on them in the front court. I think you're absolutely right there. I think Tony Morgan can be very interesting in a matchup like this. But not be surprised if Rory sees like more time on the bench in a game like this, honestly.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm intrigued. Like I said, I think Texas is going to win this, but if I was to pick a 1-seed here, I'm like, okay, well, this is the matchup to be worried about. It's this one just based on the uniqueness that Kentucky is built in a lot of ways like teams of the past that have gone and won and gone deep into tournaments that you don't really see this year in the tournament when it comes to just being built around bigs. There's so many teams that are so guard heavy that Kentucky is oddly an outlier when when in a lot of years past they would have been the norm. I find that very interesting.
They are definitely. I think my thing with Texas, and I think that this is a mistake that South Carolina made in the SEC tournament game too, is I think the story for them for a long time has been, okay, throw in the zone, make them shoot over you, and you're gonna get one of those stats in the ticker that's like Texas gone 4 minutes and 36 seconds without making a field goal in the second quarter, right? Like that's just like classic Texas stuff. I don't really think that's a playbook with them anymore. Like I think between Jordan Lee's emergence, her really becoming that second, third piece on the perimeter for them, Aaliyah Crump being healthy, Brianna Preston playing more minutes. Like this is a Texas team that at this point, like pretty reliably play. Like I don't BP doesn't take a lot of them. When she does, she's a 40% 3-point shooter. Madison Booker's not had that type of season. Like she's kind of gone down in the 3-point, but she's actually picked it up towards the end of the season. So she's kind of back to shooting at like a respectable clip. And the fact that she's Madison Booker means she's always going to have all the gravity in the world. There's so much she can do. Jordan Lee, we already know. And then Aaliyah Crump is another shooter. Like now this Texas team that we've always sort of been like, is Vic Schaefer ever going to get over the hump? Is he ever going to modernize his system? Like it just happened by sheer will of personnel and actually like the adjustments that he's made because of defense. Like sometimes he takes Rory out of the game. Like he has to take her out against South Carolina because Raven Johnson can post up now. But the downstream effect of that is then they end up also having more offensive spacing. I'm not even sure if it's like this huge.
I don't know if it's making offensive adjustments here, but it kind of works.
Having a team that can shoot a lot of threes, and you don't really like Kyla Oldacre is the person that you go to and really say like, hey, get us something in the post, and she comes off the bench. So they've just had to change how they play, and I think that makes them so dangerous because they have not lost a step defensively at all.
Yeah. That's like, I guess the interesting thing about what Vic has done this year is like defense still remains the calling card, but they've found ways to win offensively in different ways. And I think that makes them more dangerous come this time of the tournament too. So Tyler, go through the last two Sweet 16 matchups at the bottom here. All right, let's knock out these two. TCU and Virginia, Louisville, Michigan. Which of these moves you from a like this is going to come down to the wire and be fun standpoint? Because I think Virginia's got a little more life to them in this. Like Virginia could mess around and do something.
Moy Johnson, what do you have for me?
They got 4 days off, man. That's funny.
The most well-deserved days off of all time is what Virginia got. I mean, to me, with Virginia, I think you know what you're going to get in Kimora Johnson to an extent, but I can't get past what Samaya Smith we saw against Georgia. If you get that, I mean, we're having some interesting conversations here about what this game could end up looking like. And you also had Paris as well being able to come up. If you get that second player, and I don't know if it I think it could kind of go either way in terms of like the style that Virginia plays and what other player is the one that steps up. But if you get that second player, I think this game could be very, very intriguing. Like I didn't think we'd be here, but man, I'm happy to be with Virginia, with Kimora Johnson. I mean, these are the stories of March that you hope for. Like these are the stories that we don't always get on the women's side. And I'm so geeked that it is a hometown kid that stayed with their program that is doing it. Like this is like the epitome of a March Madness story to me is Kimora Johnson and Virginia. And if they're able to take this a step further, I mean, it'd be an all-time story for on the women's side. It'd be awesome. But they're gonna need Samaya Smith. I think that's who I'm kind of eyeing as the X factor here if Virginia can keep it close. And then Louisville and Michigan. I mean, these two teams don't know how to have. Yeah.
Can I actually ask? I wanted to ask you guys a question because I think that you guys are following this and like have a lot more insight in like these sort of mid-major teams like Virginia. Like, does this upset mean anything to you as far as like the larger conversation around the increased skill level and parity in the college game overall?
I think it shows the parity that exists within the power conferences. Like Virginia's at the end of the day still an ACC team. Like Alexis Ohanian has put money into them or is at least pledged to. Like Mox has a good NIL fund, which has allowed them to keep people like Kimora and bring in people like Paris Clark. So I feel as though it's an upset in the perspective that this is a program that has been on the downside or relatively unremarkable for the last 20 or so years. You know, when Debbie Ryan coached there, they were one of the best programs in the country. Like they had Dawn Staley, they had the Twins, they had like all of these, you know, monumental players. And I guess like for this, it shows that you can get back on track. I think both of these teams show you can get on track in different ways with the right amount of institutional buy-in. Because TCU is a team that's never really been particularly competitive. You know, they had Reagan Peebley that didn't really work out. And then Mark Campbell comes in. They pledged some money, but I mean, we even still saw it. It's not as though they're selling things out at Dickies Arena. They had less than 5,000 people there for that second round matchup. So they're still building their bona fides, but here they are as a 3-seed Big 12 champion that is in the Sweet 16 as well. So like who's the underdog in that scenario, right? I think the mid-major gap exists for Sweet 16s. I think it's easier to win your conferences individually. I think it's harder to win nationally now, if that makes sense. Yeah,
it kind of does. It doesn't. I mean, it's interesting, like because this is a great story, and you know, Kimora Johnson was a ball girl for Virginia. Her mom like was a huge fan of the program. Coach Mox convinces her to come. Like she buys into the vision. I all of that stuff, you know, on a gut level, like as a sports fan, hits you, right? At the same time, is there not like there's a level of cynicism here too, in that all these programs that are rising, it's like what's like truly the answer to all of this stuff? It's money. Like it's ultimately just like, and I don't think we've really like hit. We haven't crossed the Rubicon yet with women's basketball where like college football and hey, look, the sport itself is thriving, but there is this sort of underbelly where you're like, you know, like look at Vanderbilt, like Vanderbilt's rise in all sports. Like a lot of that's NIL money. That's like it's a program deciding to really, you know, just in every sport decide to pour a lot of money into the program. We're now seeing the results of that. Now, look, you can have money and mishandle it. You can have money and completely become an NIL school and completely like sell any principle that you have. Like I'm not saying that like everybody is just like is just like praying to the altar of the dollar or anything. But I've increasingly have moments like that. And I have them with TCU. I have to have them with TCU more because I think it's so much more transparent and transactional where I'm just like,
that I think is TCU's biggest challenge personally. Is there should be a lot more weight behind the story of what Olivia Miles has done this year. I think there was a little bit more weight behind HVL last season, but I also think that came as a result of some of the other stuff with LSU. TCU's issue is when you are, in essence, turning over the biggest stars on your roster every year, how much can it really matter? Like, you're doing a lot of great things, but does it resonate in the same way? And I think to your points here, like, Kimora Johnson resonates to that community and does more, I think, to probably build the sport in Virginia than 1-year transfer rentals do at a place like TCU. So I think if you're judging it on that standard, I absolutely agree. Because even look over at Louisville and Michigan, right? Like, that's a game of two programs that I think have built their rosters out and primarily are doing it with the people that got them there. And there's, I think, money on both ends of that spectrum too, but I think you're right. Like, I think TCU, I want to see the sustainability of TCU like 3 to 5 years. I think next year and the years after are going to be the ones where we see, can he really do this where he's just continuously portaling people in?
Well, it's like if the money dries up.
Because you gamble.
If the fans don't come, then the money dries up. Do people keep, like, is there a reason to keep investing in this program? And I know it gets like a controversial sort of opinion to think like, hey, there could be a future where there's like less investment with like anything involving women's sports, but it's all a business at the end of the day. And if you don't see a return on it, eventually somebody's going to pull their money. Like, that's just how it goes. And like, it's like, I mean, even the Haley Van Lith thing, it's like, that was different. It shouldn't have been different because I think they went through very similar stories, like, teams that got taken out early, and a player in HVL who like didn't really get to have the season that she had. Olivia Miles was benched a lot in the ACC tournament and in the NCAA tournament as well because of her defense. Now, HVL was on a national stage because it was against Caitlin Clark, and like we saw the memes and everything, so it was a little bit different. At the same time, though, I think part of the reason that with HVL is a bigger story is, I mean, I don't want to I don't think you can, like, especially at a place like, I mean, it's Texas Christian University. I don't think that you can like really ignore the the race aspect of it. And HVL's general marketability. But I also think that she came in and she improved on a lot of the things that were her weaknesses, and she treated TCU like it was a team. She didn't act like it was a transfer portal situation. I think everything about this TCU team, I don't think it's just Olivia Miles, but I think Olivia Miles is the one that stands out because she has the ball in her hands a ton and she's going to be a number 3 draft pick. It looks like it's just a stop before the WNBA.
It does.
It looks like a
it feels like that.
And like they protect the parts of her game that hypothetically you should be spending an extra college year to develop. Well.
I think HBO is interesting too because you have the aspects you mentioned. You have the mixture of LSU and Iowa motion, but I also think it matters that she was the first. And when you're the first to go and do these things, you're the first to reach all these heights for like this year. If this happened last year when this did happen for TCU last year, we were talking about like, wow, look at TCU. Like, the turnaround's been crazy. We're not having that same dialogue here because it's the second year now, and it's just not as exciting. Like,
that was a fun team to watch.
Yeah. It's just it matters, I think, being the first as well, on top of all the other factors, which are very important in that conversation when it comes to the dialogue surrounding either move, separately. Yeah, it definitely feels like a pit stop. For everybody.
It's not just her. Like, it just feels like they're all. It feels like it's like a G League stop for them.
Especially when you compare it to Virginia, where like when you have this direct eyesight comparison to Kimora Johnson in Virginia. Oh man, it feels blatant.
That's the heel. That's like the heart versus heel thing that I can really get behind.
No, it's been interesting to watch that like unfold, right? Because I think there's a dialogue about like the limits of portaling that way, especially with basketball. I mean, I feel like some teams have done it, but the most successful ones, they keep people around. Before we go, Louisville versus Michigan, who you guys got? Can my boy Jeff Walls do it again? Is really what I'm asking here.
I picked Louisville. I'm kind of Andrew, you're kind of making me drink the Kool-Aid a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. We're back in March. You were talking about it again. I feel like the ACC has a point to prove to a degree, and who else is leading that charge but Jeff Walz? And I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I might regret it, but you're one big game away from Silas Swords or Olsen, and this just gets nasty. But I expect this one to maybe be. If you told me, like I think it's Notre Dame or Vandy or this game probably being the game of the round, if you will, because these are two teams that just play games close, and you are going to either have the best day of your life or get your heart broken cheering for these teams. And I cannot wait to see this one. Like this is going to be incredibly exciting because I think this could end up being easily the tightest game of this round because there's just not a lot to pick apart from both these teams. And I think the guard play is going to be so exciting because there's legitimately 6 players in this game that could go off for 20 plus points. And it wouldn't even be that surprising. And you just don't know who those players are going to be to a degree for either of these teams. And that intrigues me so much going into this one. But I did pick Louisville. Andrew, if they lose, I blame you for making me drink Kool-Aid.
That's cool. We're fully walls pilled in this environment. So
here I am.
We're ready. We're ready to go.
Heart versus head one here. I just want my girl Silas Swords.
Yeah.
That's keep it going. That's the Canadian in me.
Canada in you, right?
I do think this game for basketball junkies is going to be so fun because you've got 2 coaches that just have the deepest playbook that you could imagine. Jeff,
totally different approaches on how to accomplish it too.
Totally. It's but very both just so deep in their bag. The amount of different variations of the hammer screen that they use to get Sila and Olivia playing off of each other is incredible. And
the walls blobs.
Oh yeah. You don't see it. You never see it coming with them. It's it's going to be a fun one. It has overtime written all over it.
Oh, I need it.
Ooh,
this is a heartbreaker. I don't know who. I'm not confident in my pick. I'm confident someone's heart's being broken, and I don't know which team it's going to be, and that is incredibly exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. This is where the tournament gets really good. We always kind of say it first, second rounds, they can be a little chalky sometimes. This is where the tournament really, at least in my opinion, in the last few years is taking the attention away from the men is once you hit the Sweet 16 and Elite 8, it really starts to become something new. Seerat, any last words of wisdom before we let you go here?
I don't know that I have a lot of words of wisdom. I will say, to your point, I think the second round was amazing this year. And I think that it broke containment out of the women's basketball world in a way that usually we don't really get until the Sweet 16. But you had, the Syracuse coach upset about being scheduled against UConn. That, I think, got a lot of play. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but all I'll say is that it's really, really hard to make the Sweet 16 as a 9 seed. And I don't think I don't think it's it's gonna be better against South Carolina or Texas,
Mm-hmm.
At least UConn stops pressing in the second half.
Literally,
it could be worse, but I get it from her side too. If you see,
I'd be sick if I was her.
Going into half in tears, you're at a certain point, you're protective over your players, and you're just trying to set yourself up for next year to get maybe better bracket, but. Yeah, it was a lot of fun second round stuff, for Virginia versus Iowa.
Yeah.
Anna with the upsets. We had double overtime. We had overtime in the TCU game. I'm probably missing some stuff as well. And then just the power teams are going to win, but their last sort of game. I like that. I saw that you talked about, should the first 2 rounds be played in a.
Don't get us started.
I think this is a year where you really start thinking about it. I don't think we're there yet because I do think that if we sort of start to consistently get these first and second rounds to be exciting, but right now I think that you still kind of need that extra juice of AC Flood is playing her last game at Gamble. Flaja Johnson is playing her last game at the PMAC. That type of stuff.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, we're right on the precipice. I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah. I would agree. We're close.
Agree more.
Close.
The second round averaged 1 million viewers all across the board on ESPN, which was a pretty neat thing to see. The last thing I wanted to touch on was the Felicia Leggett-Jack thing real quick, just because I had smoke for Coach Yo having a little bit of too wide-eyed going into South Carolina anytime Ole Miss and the Gamecocks met. Honestly, same standard's going to apply here, bro. Get good. Like, damn. I'm sorry. Get good.
You want to make the Sweet 16? You can't be nice.
Like,
you just can't.
And you know what? And you also can't be. You also can't be scared of UConn and Gino. Like it, the same way I say it about Ole Miss. Like, I'm not going to respect you as a real team until you show me that you can go into CLA and not piss down your leg. And you know what? If this is how the Syracuse get down, I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to do the same thing. I don't want you to be so spooked that you see Gino that this damn game is over before it starts. Get good. Beat them. Beat other teams.
I was holding it together until you left. I was doing okay.
I got no patience for it.
Seerat, I was holding it together until Seerat left.
Good little. Just who's gonna be the one to break?
I was holding it together until she left.
I had a delayed reaction because I was like.
Like, did he say what I think he just said?
I was holding it together too. I was doing okay.
To quote the venerable Shawnee Powell, are all hearts and minds clear before we boogie out? Seerat, where can everybody find you and find the work, by the way?
Oh, thank you. You can find me at the Ringer WNBA show on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find my work at theringer.com. And honestly, it's a regular home for you guys too. I think we do a lot of honestly organic cross promotional work where I'm just like, I don't know what they think about this right now. So I appreciate the work that you guys do. It's certainly I feel like we're always whether we're talking or not, we're always somewhat in conversation with each other about women's basketball.
We're very fortunate to be in like the Blog Boy cinematic universe of Bill Simmons. We're now kind of like tertiary, quaternary characters here that just like we're like the random cameo. Like when Stan Lee shows up in a movie, it's like we pop up on a Ringer WNBA show. Like, wait a minute, what? But then we're like one of the side movies where when Seerat shows up, it's like when Thor rolls up to an Ant-Man movie and has like some dialogue and you're like, it's Thor, you know? Yes. Yeah. Well, her name is Seerat Sohi. His is Tyler DeLuca. My name's Andrew Hodner. This has been Ball Up Top on No Cap Space WBB. We hope all of you hang with us all the way through this NCAA tournament. Tyler's got boots on the ground in Fort Worth. Greer's got boots on the ground in Sacramento. Everybody's got boots in the Final Four. So we will be staying your home for all things women's basketball. This has been Ball Up Top. We'll see y'all next week.